Today marks the 35-year anniversary of the release of Pixies Bossanova. I'm going to tell you the quick story behind this album for me. This probably is my favorite Pixies album, but I don't know. Doolittle's pretty awesome too. When I first heard the Pixies, my introduction to them, and I remember it vividly, was Here Come Your Man. Here Comes Your Man. So I saw the video on MTV, and I didn't like it at first. I don't know why, but for whatever reason, I was like, I'm not ready for this band. I saw the video, I watched the video, and I was kind of like, I just didn't get it. I was still very, very deep into metal, but either way, I wasn't ready. I'm not quite sure exactly what song I heard, but I heard some more Pixies along the way, and I started liking what I was hearing. So when I got the opportunity to pick up somewhere in the ballpark of 12 CDs for a penny, or maybe 10 cents, I don't know. There were several CDs on there that I picked up for little to nothing. And two of those CDs I ordered at the same time. And those two CDs that I ordered at the same time were these two. These were the first two Pixies albums that I picked up. I fell in love with this record, really. This album was just, it was very raw to me. To digest these two albums at the same time was a lot to take in. But I soon moved on through the rest of their collection backwards, and picked up the rest of these albums. And I fell in love with this band. Kim Deal, who played bass for the Pixies, her bass lines are kind of like Darcy's bass lines from Smashing Pumpkins. They're not technical masterpieces by any means, but they get the job done. So I like the bass lines in all the Pixie songs. I think they're great. And I know she really goes for it. I was in her presence one time, or maybe twice, but I never introduced myself. I've never actually met Kim Deal. I've just been in her presence, and I just didn't want to say anything to her. And I've always had this thing. I just don't really, unless there's like some sort of an arrangement or it's prearranged, I usually will not talk to other musicians or celebrities or whatever. If I see them in passing, I've just found myself in a lot of situations, especially in the past. I would find myself in these crazy situations where I'd be in a room with people that, people would be like, you wouldn't believe me, really, honestly. But I have. And so I just kind of sat there and looked at her for a little bit. And there was more than just her there. It was the Beastie Boys were there as well. Trying to think of who else was there. Anyway, it was a long, long time ago. It was actually over 30 years ago. I didn't say anything to her, but I wanted to tell her, like, hey, I think what you do is great. Like, there's these bass players in these bands that don't get enough credit. I think that Tina Weymouth is one of the best ones. Also, Tracy Wormworth, who played bass in The Waitresses, she's one of the greatest bass players, period. It doesn't matter about the gender. She's just awesome. But anyway, she kills it on the bass. There's a lot of great female bassists out there, and I'm not naming them right now. I'm not thinking of them all. But from that era of like, alternative rock, that whole era, like Kim Gordon and all these other people. No, I'm not saying Kim, but Kim Deal I just thought she was great. I thought her bass lines really came through well in the recordings, and she just sounded awesome. So, and I liked her voice as well. So, and obviously millions of other people agreed because the Breeders were a lot more successful. But anyway, this album, some of my favorite tracks on it, rock music. I love rock music. I like Valoria, Allison. Gosh, there's so many on here. I don't want to say the wrong. Yeah, Is She Weird? Is She Weird is another one. This album's just killer. I mean, it just rolls right on. It flows so well. And if you have not listened to this album, or you are unfamiliar with Pixies, you should check it out. Today is the 35-year anniversary of the release of this album, August 13th, 2025. Check it out. I want to get into it more, but some things have come up, and I need to get out of here. But I at least wanted to acknowledge that today is a special day for Pixies and Pixies fans around the world, because this album is very, very worth a listen, and it has stood the test of time. It has aged very well. Okay, as I was watching over the video, I realized that there were a few key things that I left out. Overall, the Pixies, they do have this surf rock undertone to their music. But on this album in particular, it is like their surf rock masterpiece. Like, it's very, there's a lot of reverb and what sounds to me like a lot of hollow body guitar playing. Just the whole sound of it, the production for this record, I think it's probably their best sounding album out of those first 5. It's really hard to say, well, this album is my favorite, but there's a reason why so many people love Doolittle, and Doolittle is my favorite. I think it's the best like representation of Pixies. Like, I think that if you hear that album, if you want someone to get into Pixies, you play that album for them. That's just my opinion, but either way, after I filmed that video, I went for a drive and I listened to this whole album. I was able to kind of relive it again. It took me back to the early 90s and brought me back to my youth, and it was a really good feeling. I just loved driving around and listening to it. So let me once again go over some of my favorite tracks on this album. I definitely love Is She Weird? Rock music is awesome. These are some tracks I already mentioned. I love All Over the World. I think that's a great one. Dig for Fire is awesome. I mean, really, the thing about this album is you just can't go wrong. It flows so well. It just has this flow to it that makes it different from the other albums, you know? I'm a little bit embarrassed that it's been a while since I've listened to it. Those tracks I mentioned, those are some of my favorite tracks on this album, but I really like this album from start to finish. There are no skips on this album. There is nothing I want to skip. It just really flows, and it just has this, once again, it has this surf rock feel to it. You can't deny it, you know? And it's just, I listen to it and I think about sitting at the beach on a kind of an overcast day out on the West Coast. This is your album. Please, if you are a fan of Pixies, and notice I'm not saying the Pixies, it's Pixies. So if you're a Pixies fan, please let me know, what are your favorite tracks from Bossanova? I really want to know. And I also want to know, who are your favorite female bass players? Do you think that Kim Deal is better than Kim Gordon? Do you think Kim Deal is better than, oh gosh, how could I be forgetting all these bass players right now? These female bassists. But anyway, Tina Weymouth is one of my favorites. Like, I think she was there, like, I think she's kind of like the goddess to a lot of those female bassists. So anyway, once again, thank you for watching this video. Thank you, Pixies, for releasing this album. I really appreciate it. Thank you for being awesome when I finally saw you live a little over 20 years ago when you reunited. That show was amazing. It's hands down the best and my favorite show that I've ever attended at the Fox Theater in Atlanta. Keep doing what you're doing, and we will celebrate more of your music. Thank you for watching.